Hello everyone, it's Dawn and welcome back to my channel. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's video, and today we're going to continue with the final Papercraft Society Box number 67, and we're going to make a gatefold card. So again, we're going to use the die which I've put out of reach, but I'll show you how I've used it as we go along. Clever of me to put it out of reach, wasn't it? I can see it, I just can't reach it, but that's all right. We'll get to that in a second. So for the central panel, you will need two pieces. I'm using white card because it'll be easier to write on it. You'll see why as we go along. You'll be writing on the back for this one. So as I say, you'll see why we do what we do as we go along. But you will need two pieces that measure 5.5 by 5.5 inches. And then you will need your die. And all I did with the die, I simply drew around it and cut it out, but you will need a gatefold. So what I did, once I drew it round it, I used the red card that was in the box, but as always on this channel, we always say use what you've got. So the die, this one is, I think it's about, hang on, let's find out, let's measure it. I've got my ruler right next to me. 5.5. The arch is 5.5 by 3. I didn't write that in the measurements, but I'll make sure I write it in when I put it up. And what you need to do, you need to do an inch wide tab just along this bit here. And what you need to do also is make sure you put the tabs on the opposite sides. So I'll show you what I mean by that as we go along. So the next time you'll flip it and the tab will be on this side because it'll tuck under there. So let's just slide the two white bits to one side. You could use the coloured cardstock and put a white mat on the front if you want to. That's up to you. But I'm going to do it this way for the time being. I'm just going to make sure we've got it the right way. We have, excellent. You will also need a mat. I've used ombre paper, but again, use what you've got for your gatefold card. Did we say what the gatefold card was going to be? 5.5 by 3. Is the overall measurement for this. 5.5 by 3, and again I will put all of this in the description box below. And the mat is 2.5 by 5.25, and I want this to stay put, so I'm going to, do you know what, no, I'm going to use some Pritt stick, some glue stick. So you don't have to use Pritt, you can use any glue stick you've got. It's just what I happen to have on my desk, so that's what I'm going to use. I've got other makes of glue stick, but this one just happens to be on my desk, and it's a good strong one, so use a good strong one. Well, really just use what works for you. So I'm going to stick that down there like that. And well, the other thing we're going to do from the pack, but again use what you've got, I used the papers, but I had to actually cut that down. What I did was I popped it on there, and the wings overshot the gatefold part, they overshot. So what I did was I took my pencil, drew around where I wanted them to be, and then cut it out. So this card really is for the more ambitious, because you're doing a lot of freehand cutting, or fussy cutting as some people call it. So I always call it freehand cutting, but call it what you like. So I always do. So again, I'm going to use my glue stick, and we're going to stick that on there like that. Make sure it's roughly in the middle. And on the bottom of this, again, you can use whatever you've got. There was a little, because it's a stained glass window effect, there was a little strip. Now I've cut this strip down to 2 inches by 1/2 inch. And again, I'm going to use my glue stick to pop that on there. I will be using some craft glue in a few minutes, and I'm going to put that down there like that. So then once you've finished decorating your gatefold, you'll have a piece like that. Now you do exactly the same to the other one in exactly the same way, but you just make sure that your tab is, oh, let me bring that down a bit, your tab is on the opposite side, so that when you put it together it comes in like a gate. So we're going to do that now. So we need to take one of our white mats, or if you've used a coloured mat, you could use a coloured mat if you wanted to, but put a white square. You'll see why I've used a white square or white card in a moment, but we're going to deal with this first. So I'm actually going to use my Creative Craft glue for this. Now, incidentally, if you haven't, I'm sure many of you have heard by now. So while we're doing this, we'll just have a little chat about what's going on. Craft Stash, very, very sadly, have had to announce that they will be closing down very, very soon, which is very sad. So if you're a Craft Stash customer, I would suggest, and you want some supplies, if you can find anything, because I think most of the regular stuff will be going, but yesterday, at the time of recording, yesterday, the website was still open. It was very difficult to get on because everyone's trying to get their favourite items. So sadly, Craft Stash will be closing very soon. So due to rising costs, production costs and the like. So that's very, very sad. But we wish them well and hope that the demonstrators and the staff are able to find employment elsewhere. Or maybe even start up on their own. But we do wish them well. Here at First Light Crafts, we do wish them well because we're going to miss them. So we're going to put that on there like that. Now, if you want to, you could put a mat on this side as well. And you know what? I've done that on the wrong side. I wanted that part. Oh, actually, do you know what? It doesn't matter. You could put something on the inside, but no, I haven't put it on the wrong side. I thought I had. It's all right. It's one of those days. So when that comes over, that will come. Yes, that's how I wanted it. That was right. So if you wanted to put another mat on the inside, you could. Now the reason you'll see that line there, that won't normally be there, but when I cut mine out, one of the hinges or the tabs I put on the wrong side. Very clever. So I might later on cover that bit up and put another mat on it, but I'm not going to worry about it now. But what we are going to do, we need to cover that bit up, which is why we needed 2 pieces of white card. So I'm going to use my Creative Crafts glue, which is a bit like a tacky glue, I suppose, or craft glue. So I'm going to use that and just squiggle it. Make sure we get it into those corners, because what we want to do, doesn't want to stand up. Okay, lay down then. What we want to do, we want to sandwich those 2 tabs between the 2 pieces of white card, just to hide them up a bit. So that's what all that's for, is to hide the tabs. Now some of it may overlap a bit, but that's okay. We can have a border. We can have a bit of a border. That's no problem at all. So give it a press, but especially with this type of glue, you don't need to press it for long because it will hold. Turn it round. Now, if like me, you find that you've not been entirely accurate with your cutting or measuring, with me it's usually my measuring, just take a pair of scissors and where you see the overhang, chop it off. And there you go, problem solved. So we'll just put the scissors down to one side. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I've used, if I can find it, yeah. I've used one of the stamps. Now, I'll bring this back in a second. And I stamped it onto acetate because I wanted it to be transparent. Now, if you're going to stamp onto acetate, make sure that you use stays on ink, otherwise it'll just slip off. So even if you use the rough textured one, like the copier or the laser printer or inkjet printer, or inkjet acetate. Golly, that's difficult to say. It's got a sticky surface, but I'd still advise using the stays on ink, and give it time to dry, and that will solve any problems of the ink slipping off. And I've used, what have I used? I've used Sharpie pens. Sorry about that. Brain went blank for a minute. I've used Sharpie pens to colour, because Sharpies will colour onto acetate with no problem at all. And that measures 4x4. This stamp measures 4x4. I've also got a piece of the tinted acetate, which I've also cut down to 4x4. And we are going to use our tacky glue once again. And what I'm going to do, the order that you put this down is actually quite important. So let me just stick that out the way and pop that up there so that you can see what I'm doing. Now this will show through, but like we said in the previous video, Once it's dry, it will dry clear. So all I'm going to do is put some glue on there, turn it over, make sure there's no dust or anything that can get trapped, because once it's trapped under there, you can't get it out again, especially with this glue once it's dry. And I'm going to just stick it down like that, hold it just for a minute or two, or a second or two. Just hold it until it sticks and stops moving about. But this will dry clear once it's completely dry. That'll take a little while to completely dry. It'll take a little while. But to hold, that'll hold quite nicely. And we're going to put some more just on the edge. And again, this will dry clear. I'm just going to, and I like this glue because it's got a nice fine nozzle. So I'm glad I got plenty of it while I could, because when I had a look on their website yesterday, they didn't have any left. That was from Craft Stash, and as they're sadly closing, there won't be any more. So what they've got on their website, as they say, once it's gone, it's gone. So that's that. So hold it down for a little while. Just give it a bit of a wipe if you're worried. But as I say, it will dry clear. So you won't see the splotching once the glue has dried. It's already coming off really nicely. So that will hold like that. So as I say, if you wanted to put a matte and then have a white in the centre, you could, but I quite like that clean white centre. So I'm going to leave it like that. And as I say, because I made a little mistake there with the cutting, well, not so much the cutting, but the positioning of the flap, the tab. So once, I will put a matte there later on, but I don't need to worry about that now. So that will close over like that. So it might not measure exactly, it might not meet exactly, but that doesn't matter. But once it opens up, it will open up like that. Now somewhere, oh, there we go, I have got a little sentiment. Now, again in the pack, but once again, you can use whatever you've got. I used the peel-offs and I stuck it to a piece of card just to make it stand out a little bit more, and it says, "With love." And what am I going to use to stick that on? I think I'm going to use my red runner tape. I haven't brought that in lately. Someone was actually asking me, do I still use red runner tape? Yes, I do. I use it a lot. So we're going to pop a "With love" just on the inside, like that. And if you hold it, I'm by a window, so if I hold it up to the window, where I'm recording, I'm right by a window, which is wonderful, especially today because the sun is shining. It's absolutely glorious. So there is our finished card. Now you can, if you wanted to make this join a bit better, you could just make the tab a bit wider or cut this a bit bigger. But I'm quite happy with that because once it's open, it will open like that. It will stand like that. And as I say, I probably will put a matte on the inside here just to cover it up and make it look a bit prettier when it's open. So there you go, guys. There is our gatefold card from Papercraft Society, the final one, sadly, number 67 from It's Just Paper. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you have a go yourself. And if you do, please drop a photograph of your version into our Crafty Capers with Dawn Facebook group. We have a lot of fun there. It's still only a small group, but that's fine. So, but they're a lovely group, so do come and join us and show us what you do. And if you do something that we don't do that you'd like everyone to join in with, show us that too. We're always open to new ideas. So I won't see you next week because I'm having a week off. Because the week on Saturday, this coming Saturday, well, that's tomorrow at the time of this video going up, it's Graham. Most of you know by now, sadly, I lost my lovely Graham 2 months ago. 2 months ago today it is from the time of recording. And this coming Saturday, which is tomorrow, we're having a remembrance service or a memorial service for him, service of Thanksgiving, because we couldn't, for various reasons, we couldn't have a proper funeral, which I won't go into now. But we're having a service of Thanksgiving / memorial service on Saturday at our local church where we both used to, well, I still do, but where Graham used to attend with me. So it's going to be a busy weekend, and then after that I'm having a bit of a break. It's been a bit of a upheaval the last couple of months, as you can imagine. So next week I'm having a break, and there won't be any videos next week. I might pop a couple of photographs into the group, so those of you that are in our Facebook group, you might see a couple of those. And if you'd like to see what we get up to when we're off air, come and join us over at Crafty Capers with Dawn. and you'll see what we get up to when we're not here on YouTube. And I will see you the week after next now with a new series of videos. And what we're going to do, in the light of Craft Stash sadly announcing their closure, what we're going to be doing when we come back is we're going to be using our stamps, our dies, anything we might have in our stash. And I'm going to be showing you or we're going to be exploring ways of how we can stretch it and make it go even further. And we're going to be starting with our stamp, not all of them, because if you're like me, you've got tons of them, but we're going to be starting next time we come back with stamped images. And I'm going to show you, especially if you like crafting when you're on holiday, I know I do, if I go away, I like to take a few bits with me, but you don't want to take absolutely everything. You don't want to take your stamping platform, you don't want to take all your inks. So I'm going to show you how you can make your stamped images more portable, but that'll be when I come back the week after next. So do come back and see what I get up to then. And I will see you soon. So enjoy the rest of the week, enjoy next week, stay well, have fun, and as always, happy crafting. Bye bye for now.